May of 1942, Midway Island, midway in the vast Pacific. American sailors stationed here considered it a quiet outpost. They had no idea that the Japanese, after their Coral Sea embarrassment, were devising a plan to crush this serene base and America's naval power forever. But this plan would backfire, and an overmatched U.S. Navy would change the balance of power in the Pacific in the Battle of Midway. Nagumo does not know whether or not to launch a second strike. He is certain the Japanese soldiers cannot invade the island unless the American defenses are annihilated. But arming his planes for a second airstrike will take precious time and leave Nagumo's carriers vulnerable to an American carrier attack. Nagumo takes the risk, believing that the American carriers are days away from Midway. He orders his planes to make ready, unaware that the U.S. carriers are only hours away. His decision to launch a second strike is the pivot point of the Battle of Midway. Admiral Spruance's U.S. task force has been closing in since dawn. Spruance knew Nagumo's carriers would be exposed as the Japanese planes returned from their attack on Midway. When Spruance came within 170 miles of Nagumo, his fighter plane's maximum range, he threw all of his cards on the table. The man who had never before commanded a carrier launched every plane he had. The American pilots quickly found Nagumo's fleet. But the more experienced Japanese pilots flying these highly maneuverable Zeros shot down most of the U.S. torpedo bombers before they ever reached a carrier. Not one of the Japanese ships took a serious hit. More than 100 U.S. planes were destroyed. A stunned American pilot said, "It was like the inside of a beehive." But as the low-flying American torpedo bombers were being shot down, the real U.S. threat was about to appear. A wave of American dive bombers flying high above found the Japanese fleet and began peeling off. The Japanese carriers, busy rearming planes for Nagumo's second strike, were helpless. Unloaded bombs and fuel lines carelessly littered their flight decks. Their protective screen of Zeros were too low to fight off this attack. In 6 minutes, the American dive bombers demolished 3 Japanese carriers. Those 6 minutes changed the balance of power for the rest of the Pacific War. The Akagi, Soryu, and the Kaga were all sunk.